The sound of metal hitting metal echoed through the street. Janet knelt beside her car in the hot Lagos sun, her soft hands covered in black grease. Sweat rolled down her beautiful face, but her eyes remained calm. She had sent her driver home early, thinking she wouldn't need him. Now her car wouldn't start. A young man walked by, wearing a faded shirt and jeans. He had kind eyes and a quiet smile. He looked at Janet's bent figure and paused. "Do you need help, madam?" he asked. Janet looked up. "If you know how to fix engines, then yes," she said with a little laugh. He walked over, wiped his hands on his jeans, and bent beside her. "I'm Daniel," he said. She smiled. "Janet." In less than 15 minutes, Daniel fixed the car. The engine roared back to life. Janet stood, brushed off her trousers, and looked at him. "You just saved my evening," she said. Daniel smiled. "I'm happy to help." Something about his voice was calming. She offered him a ride. He refused at first, but when she insisted, he entered the passenger seat shyly. On the way they talked. Janet found out he didn't have a job but worked small gigs to survive. He had dreams, big ones, but no one to help him. Something in her heart opened. She liked how honest he was. He didn't pretend. Janet was only 28, but she had already built a life people could only dream of. She owned a large company in Victoria Island. Her office had glass walls, flowers by the windows, and a gold plaque on the door that read, "Janet and CO." Her employees adored her. She greeted them each morning with a smile, praised their hard work, and remembered birthdays. The office was filled with laughter, not fear. That was rare. Her apartment was just as stunning. It sat on the 8th floor of a luxury tower, with marble floors and a chandelier that sparkled like stars. Everything smelled of roses and expensive candles. Her wardrobe was filled with silk. Her kitchen had a fridge that talked. But the best thing about Janet was not the house, the clothes, or the company. It was her heart. She cared deeply, and sometimes she cared too much. The next morning, Daniel showed up at her office to say thank you again. He brought her a small pack of suya wrapped in foil. "For yesterday," he said, smiling nervously. Janet laughed and waved him in. "You don't have to bring me anything." But she let him stay. They talked for a long time. His eyes lit up when he spoke of his dreams to become something great, to one day run a team to make his mother proud. Janet listened. And she saw something rare in him, sincerity. She made a decision that surprised even her. "I want you to work for me," she said. His mouth fell open. "As what?" "My personal assistant," she said. "Come every day. I'll pay you well. You'll learn things. If you're serious, then show up tomorrow. 8 a.m. sharp." He showed up at 7:30. They spent every day together. First it was just work. Janet gave him tasks. Daniel completed them fast and well. He brought her tea when she had headaches, carried her files, even fixed the jammed printer. But soon things changed. He began making her laugh. She began missing him on weekends. She found herself smiling when she saw his name on her phone. One rainy evening she got a call. "I'm outside. I brought pepper soup." She opened the door. There he was, soaked but smiling, holding a bag. "I just felt like you needed some," he said. Janet didn't stop him from coming in. That night, as they sat on the carpet watching a silly movie, Janet laughed so hard she spilled juice on the floor. Daniel wiped it with his shirt. She looked at him. He looked back. And everything became still. That night nothing happened. But everything changed. Months passed. The office glowed. Love bloomed like a secret flower. One night, Daniel told her to dress up. He wouldn't say where they were going. He only said, "Trust me." They went to a fancy rooftop restaurant. The night air was cool. A soft jazz band played in the background. There were flowers everywhere, and a table set just for two. "Daniel," she whispered, surprised. He smiled, took her hand, and dropped to one knee. Her heart began to race. "Janet," he said, "you changed my life. I came into your world with nothing. You gave me everything. I want to spend forever giving you back the joy you gave me. Will you marry me? Janet cried. She had never cried from joy before. Yes, she said. Everyone clapped. The band played louder. Fireworks shot up into the night sky. Their wedding became the talk of Lagos. The cake was 6 tiers high, covered in golden pearls. The hall was lit like a dream. Famous people came. The Asebi sparkled. People danced till morning. Janet looked like a queen in her white gown. Daniel looked proud in his agbada. They kissed under soft lights and everyone cheered. It was perfect. But not everything perfect lasts. That night, after the music stopped and the guests left, Janet took off her shoes and sat beside Daniel on the hotel bed. He looked at her and said softly, "Now that we're married, you don't need to work anymore. Let me handle everything. Just be my wife. I'll manage the company." Janet blinked. "What? You've worked enough. Rest now. I'll take care of your business. Just transfer it to my name. You trust me, don't you?" Her heart paused. "I don't know," she said. "That's a lot to ask." He touched her cheek. "My love, remember what the pastor said. The husband is the head. Obedience brings peace." Janet looked down at her wedding ring. The words of the pastor echoed in her mind. Submit, obey, honor. She didn't sleep well that night. But by morning she agreed. She thought love meant trust. She thought trust meant surrender. She didn't know she had just opened the door to pain. The company name changed the next week. From Janet and Company to Daniel Group Limited. Janet stood in front of the golden sign as the workers pulled down her name. Her hands were shaking, but she smiled. She told herself she had done the right thing. Daniel was her husband now. They were one. His success would be hers too. She wore a wrapper and stayed at home, just like he said. She no longer went to the office. She no longer sat in meetings. She no longer gave ideas or received emails. First, Daniel came home with updates. He smiled. He kissed her. He told her how much he loved her. But slowly, the update stopped. The silence in the house grew louder. Janet sat by the window, reading a book for the 5th time. Her laptop gathered dust. Her phone was never with her anymore. Daniel said it distracted her. He took it and promised to return it. But weeks passed and it never came back. Whenever she asked for it, he would say, "Why do you need a phone? I'm here. You're safe." She smiled and nodded. But her smile no longer reached her eyes. The maids were sent away. Daniel said they were wasting money. "Learn to cook again," he said. "It's good for you." So Janet cooked. He cleaned. She stayed silent. She waited by the door every evening like a flower waiting for sunlight. Sometimes he came home. Sometimes he didn't. Janet used to run board meetings with 20 men in suits. Now she washed socks and folded shirts. She wore big gowns that covered her glow. Her friends stopped calling. Daniel said they were too worldly. She no longer went to church. Daniel said they needed privacy in their marriage. She became like air in the house. Quiet. Always present. Easy to forget. She told herself this was love. That maybe this was what marriage meant. Maybe all women gave up something. But each night, as she lay in bed alone, she wondered why her pillow was always wet with tears. It started with perfume on his shirt. Janet found a red lipstick stain on his collar one night. She held it up to him, her hands shaking. He laughed. "It's nothing," he said. "A hug from a client." But the next week it was 2 lipstick stains. Then it was perfume again. Then his wallet had club receipts, champagne bills, and strange names written in pink pens. One evening, he came home with loud music playing from his car. A girl giggled from the front seat. Janet opened the door. He saw her and said, "Go inside." She stood there, frozen. He turned to the girl and said, "Ignore her. She's just my wife." The girl laughed and kissed his cheek. Janet felt something crack in her chest. The account was empty. Janet had asked for money to buy groceries. Daniel looked at her and said, "Why are you always asking me for money? You're not a baby. She blinked. I don't have any. He laughed. You're a big girl. Figure it out. She didn't eat that night. The next morning, she borrowed rice from the neighbor. Later that day, she saw photos on social media. Daniel at a club. Daniel dancing with girls in tight dresses. Daniel pouring drinks on the floor. Daniel the new Lagos baller. And she, the one who gave him everything, now couldn't even afford tomatoes. The first time Janet vomited, she thought it was food poisoning. The second time, she knew something had changed inside her. She told Daniel, smiling with hope, I'm pregnant. He looked at her like she had said something disgusting. Pregnant? So soon? He said, frowning. She nodded slowly. It's our child. He rolled his eyes. Well, good luck. That night he didn't come home. The months that followed were slow and painful. Janet grew rounder, heavier and weaker. But Daniel stopped touching her. He said she looked tired. He said she wasn't attractive anymore. He didn't care for the baby. He didn't care for her. She begged him to stay one night when she was bleeding a little and scared. He said, call your doctor. That's not my job. But I don't have a phone, she whispered. He turned away and slammed the door behind him. It was raining heavily when the pain began. Janet screamed, but no one answered. She crawled to the window and banged on it. The neighbors heard. They ran to her aid. Where is your husband? One of them asked. She couldn't speak. They wrapped her in a blanket and rushed her to the hospital in a kiki. She was bleeding, crying, gasping for breath. At the hospital, the nurses worked fast. The doctor came, eyes wide. You're giving birth to triplets, he shouted. 3. Janet gasped. Hold on, he said. Breathe. And then it happened. 1 cry. Then 2. Then 3. 3 baby boys. Tiny, perfect and loud. They were placed in soft blankets beside her. Janet cried. Not from pain. But from the beauty of what came out of her brokenness. She held her babies and looked around. Daniel was not there. He hadn't called. He hadn't come. The nurse looked at her. Who will sign the release form? Who is your next of kin? Janet swallowed hard. I have no one. The nurse left. But the doctor returned later, holding a warm bowl of soup. You don't have to go home, he said gently. You and your babies will stay here until you're strong. I'll arrange a place for you. Don't worry. Janet burst into tears. She had never seen such kindness from a stranger. The man who promised her the world left her in the storm. And the stranger who owed her nothing gave her shelter. The first time Janet held all 3 of her sons at once, something inside her woke up. She had cried for Daniel. She had begged him to love her. She had given up her name, her company, her dreams. But now, with 1 baby on her chest, another curled beside her arm, and a third suckling gently, she realized something important. She was not alone anymore. She had 3 reasons to live. 3 reasons to fight. 3 reasons to rise again. The doctor's name was Dr. Tony. He was quiet, gentle and kind. He paid for her hospital stay. He moved her and the babies into a small but beautiful apartment near the hospital. It had clean floors, soft beds, and baby clothes folded in a basket. You can stay as long as you need, he said. Janet couldn't speak. Her heart was too full. She cried not from sadness, but from a strange kind of peace. She named the boys. Jason, the first to cry. Jordan, the one who kicked during birth. Jesse, the quiet one who opened his eyes first. Each day, Janet woke up and smiled because of them. She fed them, bathed them, sang to them. She still had nothing, but she had everything. Janet started doing small jobs at the hospital. She cleaned, answered calls, and helped with patient files. Dr. Tony paid her fairly and made sure her babies had milk and diapers. Soon, her confidence returned. She got a job at a nearby firm as a secretary. It wasn't like running her own company, but it was a start. She dressed in clean clothes. She bought a new phone. She walked with her head high. People at work liked her. Her laughter returned, slow but strong. She would walk home and see her boys running toward her, their arms wide open. "Mommy! Mommy!" She would kneel and they would jump into her arms. The pain Daniel caused became softer each time she hugged them. The boys were now 5 years old. They were beautiful, dark-skinned, with bright eyes and strong legs. Jason loved books. Jordan loved to dance. Jesse loved to draw. They didn't know pain. They didn't know heartbreak. All they knew was their mother's love. They called her Queen. They kissed her cheeks when she looked tired. They helped her pack her bag each morning before work. Their laughter filled the apartment. Their drawings covered the walls. And Janet, though she had once broken into pieces, now felt whole again. Until one morning he came back. Janet was at her new office, typing a report, when a knock came at the door. "Come in," she said without looking. She heard the door creak open, then silence. She looked up, and the air left her lungs. Daniel stood there. But he wasn't the Daniel she remembered. His hair was messy. His shirt had holes. His face was thin and his eyes looked empty. He was wearing old slippers and his hands shook. "Janet," he said, voice dry like sand. "Please. I need your help." She didn't speak. He stared. "I lost everything," he continued. "The company gone. The house gone. Cars all sold. I was greedy. I was stupid. I made a mistake." She still said nothing. "I have nothing now," he whispered. "I sleep on the street. I haven't eaten in 2 days. Please help me. Please." He dropped to his knees. "Janet, I'm sorry." Tears filled her eyes, but they didn't fall. She thought of the days she sat by the window, waiting for him. She thought of the night she gave birth alone. She thought of begging him to stay. She thought of eating plain rice in the dark while he poured champagne on club floors. She thought of Jason, Jordan, and Jesse, her sons who had never seen a man make their mother cry. She rose slowly from her chair. "I'm not your wife anymore," she said quietly. "You lost that when you left me in the rain." "I know," he sobbed. "I know. But please, just money. Just a place to sleep." She looked at him. The man who once wore gold now shook in rags. The man who once owned her name now begged for help. She took out her purse. She gave him 5,000 naira. "That's enough for food and a ride," she said. "But that's all." "Janet, please." "No," she said. Her voice was strong. "I gave you everything. You turned it into dust. I won't do it again." She turned and walked away. He cried. But she did not stop. That night she told her boys a story. "A long time ago," she said, "there was a bird with golden feathers. She gave her feathers to a man because she loved him. But he used them to make himself a crown and left her alone in the cold. One day he came back with nothing. But the bird had grown new feathers. And this time she kept them." "Did the bird fly again?" Jessie asked, cuddled in her arms. "Yes," she said with a smile. "And she flew higher than ever." The boys clapped. Janet tucked them into bed, kissed their foreheads and turned off the light. She walked to the balcony, looked at the stars and let the wind touch her face. She had loved. She had lost. But she had found herself again. And that was enough. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you might not hear my voice again. But if you are, then you are growing every day. Check my page for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.